Hi, and welcome to momsden. My name is Ivona, and today I'm helping you not wipe your raid group on Lady Inerva Darkvein, the final boss of Leeching Vaults Wing in Castle Nathria. This is a super simple guide focused mostly for the DPS groups on LFR and normal difficulty, so if you're a more advanced player, a tank, or a healer, you may want to look into the other strategies as well. Speaking of simple guides, I do a bunch of those for raids, dungeons, classes, specs, Torghast, mounts, pets, and a bunch of other stuff, so if you'd like more easy WoW wins, make sure to press that sub button. Alright, so when it comes to this lady, what's important to pay attention to before talking about her core abilities is the main strategy revolving around Anima Containers, which are positioned on the left and the right side of the room. They're going to be getting filled with anima, and it is your job to not let the containers be filled with it. One player should always be in charge of drawing the anima out of them, unless of course the container is marked with focus anima, during which time it cannot lose anima, so don't bother with it. What's annoying is that the abilities get buffed at 33% and 66% of the anima container related to a certain mechanics, so try to draw anima out of them before they ever reach 33%. This guide will give you the essence of what you need to do during each stage, but for more info on what exactly happens when the containers overflow, you can check the links in the description, but I honestly hope you won't need any of that info on LFR. Also, if any of the containers reach 100%, they deal a huge amount of damage to the whole raid, so just don't let it happen. The first ability related to the leftmost container is Exposed Desires, which deals a great amount of stacked damage to the tanks. At 33%, the spell turns into Exposed Cognition, and the damage replicates to one of the non-tank players in the group, which may be you, so be aware of that. And if it happens to you, try not to be a hero and take other sources of damage or soak stuff because your healer will be really sad. At 66% of anima in its container, the spell becomes Exposed Heart, which deals AoE damage to everyone near the tanks, so try not to let it happen. The next ability to worry about is Bottled Anima, which is the boss pretty much throwing vials of anima on the floor that manifest as red circles. It is super important to soak these, as the vials deal great amounts of shadow AoE damage to the raid if everyone ignores it. At 33%, the spell turns into Lingering Anima, which means there will be puddles on the floor to avoid until the end of the combat. And on 66%, the vials will bounce off the players, and they'll need to be soaked twice instead of only once, and of course there will be puddles on the floor too. Fun stuff, and try not to let it happen. The third ability to worry about is the Lesser Sins and Suffering, and this is a tricky one because it actually requires teamwork, and if you're LFRing at 5 in the morning, you may not be in the mood for it, but try to get yourself to cooperate. There will be 3 orbs positioned randomly inside of the room, and if you become linked with other players, it means you need to cut one of the orbs with your links by forming a triangle in which corners the orbs should be. If this is confusing, take a look at the cheat sheet on the screen. Please do not ignore the orbs, since there will be a great amount of AoE damage as a consequence, and that's pretty much a wipe, which is what we're trying not to do. At 33%, this gets more interesting and the spell turns into Sins and Suffering, so the orbs get linked with Anima Web, dealing damage to anyone who touches it. At 66%, the Anima Web starts rotating and will do serious amounts of damage to anyone who touches it with the beams, so good luck with that. Finally, the fourth ability is Lightly Concentrated Anima, which places a debuff on a random player and causes shadow damage. If you're marked with a debuff, you need to get as close to the tanks as possible while not entering the melee group directly, because you'll be dealing shadow damage to anyone within 8 yards. The reason for this is because upon the debuff, you'll spawn an ad that doesn't move but needs to be tanked, so in order for the tanks to be able to take over, the ad should be close enough. At 33%, the spell turns into Concentrated Anima, which causes the marked player to also become unavoidably rooted. And if you have the opportunity to let your tanks and other players know you can't move, it is a good idea to do so because the tanks need to tank and the other players need to bounce. At 66%, the spell becomes highly concentrated anima, causing the fragments of shadow balls to appear upon the ad, causing great amounts of damage to everyone in their way. For the LFR and normal difficulty, that is pretty much it. It sounds complicated, but if you take care of the Anima Containers and try to keep them empty at all times, this should be easy enough if you work together and respect the tactics. I hope you found this guide useful and less confusing than the actual fight, and if you now know how not to wipe on Darkvein, make sure to leave this video a like. I'll be releasing more raid guides for the rest of the wings as well, so if you're into this kind of thing, make sure to press that sub button as well. And if you have some strategies of your own that I haven't mentioned, I'd love to read about them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and have fun in Castle Nathria. Good luck and bye bye.